Once upon a time, there was a Broadway musical starring Richard Gere, Barry Bostwick, Nell Carter, and Peter Allen. It was Broadway's first real rock opera, and it closed after only 3 performances.
In December of 1970, a new musical called Soon started previews at the Ritz Theater on 48th Street. Soon was about Kelly, Bostwick, then 25 years old, and Annie, Marta Heflin, sweet young musicians with dreams who have nothing but a sleeping bag and an acoustic guitar between them. They take on the big bad city and make a bunch of new friends. Richard Gere, Peter Allen, and Joe Butler of the Lovin' Spoonful, who also dream of making great music. That cast, isn't that amazing?
Barry Bostwick and Marta Heflin, not in Soon, in different projects, but I just enjoy that.
It sort of looks like the stage version of Grease 2 when he's like in the dream.
The youthful, idealistic musicians break into the record industry and wind up giving up their folk protest music to write bubblegum pop. Selling out doesn't sit well with these guys, and when their new music makes them very successful, they find themselves surrounded by drugs, money, and groupies, named Faith, Hope, and Charity, but with much sluttier outfits than those characters in Anything Goes. In the end, the gang gives up their success and goes back to their roots.
Soon started previews the first week of December in 1970 and was set to open on December 16th. Instead, the show shut down after previews to go back into rehearsal and rework their troubled production. Can you name 3 times in Broadway history when that happened?
You guys, I wrote this into the script, but I could only remember 2 when we rehearsed this, so...
Scarlet Pimpernel.
Scarlet Pimpernel.
We got that.
Spider-Man. Does anyone have a third one?
Mysterious third one that... What was that? Oh, no, I don't know. I forgot. I wrote this and I forgot. I'll remember. I'll post it online so everyone can know the third one. I promise.
God, yeah. So anyway, we'll workshop that. And on December 28th, Soon started 2 more weeks of previews. They officially opened on January 12th, then closed on January 13th. What happened?
Soon was a new kind of show. Like many shows that followed Hair and fell in its shadow, including, but not limited to, Via Galactica and Dude. You can check those out on YouTube in their series. Soon had a sort of narrative, but the story also had portions that seemed to exist in dramatic limbo. The lyrics were sometimes very literal, sometimes not, and sometimes very not safe for matinees with grandma. Like one lyric that went, Bob Dylan, I'm willing to lay across your bed, because I heard from an English bird that you like good...
blowjobs.
Thank you.
I love a good BJ joke. Critic, my parents are not here tonight. Critic Willie Hamilton.
We're watching on YouTube though. Hi, Kevin's parents.
My parents don't know what YouTube is. They don't. So critic Willie Hamilton, baffled, shared, there is little or no talking. They use music as a segue between scenes, thoughts, dialogue, and whatever. Crotchety. In the Daily News, Douglas Watt said, Soon sets the youth movement back just under 2 hours. In the Times, Clive Barnes,
drinks ready, drinks.
Drinks ready. Clive Barnes compared the show's youthful exuberance to that of old Donald O'Connor movie musicals. But, he said, one of the difficulties is that the show is a commercial musical about the horrors of musical commercialism. A strong satiric approach might have helped here.
Indeed, the show was written in absolute earnest by writers Scott Fagan, Joe Kukulis, and Robert Greenwald. Scott and Joe had themselves moved to New York City, and Soon was the musical that they'd written about their own experience in the record industry. In Scott's words, we were absolute true believers in music and in its purpose and ability to communicate, comfort, enlighten, inspire, and to change the world that we lived in. It absolutely blew our minds to realize that the human expression that we so believed in was ultimately coming under the control of businessmen who would use and abuse the power of music and the people that made it to further their own agenda, which was after and above all to make money at any and all costs. Joe and I thought that communicating this realization was important and would have a positive impact on the music business and society at large, and that is why we wrote Soon. How cool is that? I thought that was awesome. Here were young people ready to take Broadway by storm. The show was filled with statements and new ideas about what it meant to stay true to the music that you believed in.
Now, besides the idealistic writers, of course, the cast was filled with ambitious stars to be. Barry Bostwick was moments away from launching his career with Grease and then Rocky Horror Picture Show. Richard Gere was only 21 years old, and this was his Broadway debut. The great future Tony Award winner Nell Carter also made her Broadway debut. Peter Allen, who was married to Liza Minnelli while Soon was running, would release his first solo album later that year. Now, Peter had actually replaced writer Scott Fagan in the role of Henry during the mid-previews revamp.
Maybe Soon was the third musical, and I just worded it weird. Oh, great. Thank you. Was it? Oh, yeah, Jude. Thank you. Perfect. I would written. Yes. Applause. If you feel like shouting out any fun fact, go for it. We appreciate shouting. Thank you. Pamela Pantone replaced Bonnie Enton in the role of Rita the groupie when Enton was hospitalized during rehearsals with, the Times reported, an intestinal infection. Congratulations, Miss Enton. Louis St. Louis made his Broadway debut as the musical director of Soon. Louis went on, we love him here, yeah, truckload. Louis went on to musically direct and/or arrange Grease Over Here, Raggedy Ann, Rosa, and Smokey Joe's Cafe, as well as write Truckload and Grease 2. Louis also provided the vocal arrangements and led the orchestra. In the playbill for Soon, Louis was credited with pit shit.
I just go back a second. If like the New York Times reported that I had like intestinal problems, that would be so embarrassing.
Yeah, it's really embarrassing.
Leave some things to the imagination.
Although the Jose Lana has a story like that.
Yeah. Robert Greenwald, the director who had left during the shaky preview period, replaced by Gerald Friedman, had previously worked as a general management assistant on David Merrick shows like Hello Dolly and I Do, I Do, so he was used to theatrical upheaval. He did all right for himself, going on to direct the musical Me and Bessie, which ran for almost 500 performances on Broadway. David Edward Byrd, known for creating the poster art for Godspell and Follies, also created the artwork for Soon, and in his own words, the clients had the preliminary poster I sent them printed. Except for the initial $100 check, I never heard from them again.
This is a production photo. I know it's really blurry, but you can see there's like a lot of scaffolding, and between that and the plot, it feels very renty to me. And here's some work by David Edward Byrd, who you guys might know. It's very distinctive style. You can
iconic
see
Broadway posters.
Like head style. That's his style. Moving on. I'll Take It Soon on Broadway were $5 or $7. A right-on-the-nose song called Marketing, Marketing went, Marketing, Marketing, merry-go-round, we've got to come up with a saleable sound. Profits are down, profits are down. The number that ended Act 1 tended to terrify all the patrons in the theater as the cast screamed, "This house is on fire! This house is gonna burn down!" Of course, they meant this metaphorically, but, you know, the people at the Ritz thought they were gonna burn down. And then, of course, there were parts of the show, and let me tell you, the score is awesome. It's very real rock music, which is pretty cool for the time. There were parts of the show that Sword rocked and declared their anti-establishment messages about art with intensity and passion. Imitate loving, imitate living, imitation nation, shake the people, wake them up, the whole world is in your hands. Kind of reminds me of Generation Apathy a little bit.
From Glory Days.
Yeah.
A big second act number found the cast singing a list of their frustrations with society. Desolation, suffocation, degradation, manipulation, assassination. A backwards La Vie Boheme, if you will. More than 2 decades before Rent. Indeed, the set was made of scaffolding, and the set had a ragtag, scrappy style. Soon was capitalized at $125,000. The musical Ari had just opened at the Mark Hellinger around the same time and would close after 19 performances. A backer was heard in the lobby of that theater talking about Soon and said, "At least that way I can see my money going down the drain."
Soon reclaimed the Ritz Theater as a legit house for Broadway. The Ritz had opened in 1921 with Mary Stuart, as you can see over there, and it was a Broadway house for 22 years. From 1943 to 65, it was used as a radio and TV station. From 65 to 69, it languished, empty and in danger of being demolished. So you guys shouted out, what theater is this today? You know from the screen. Hello, the Walter Kerr. It's pretty amazing. I love that guy who's setting up this Angels in America marquee. He's risking his life for the theater. In 1969, it was purchased by private buyers, and in 71, it was turned back into a Broadway house and launched with Soon. In 73, it was renamed the Robert F. Kennedy Theater and played children's shows for a while, and for a while they used it to store posters and billboards. The roof began leaking, and the theater fell into complete disrepair, and then they tore it down and put up a parking lot. No, they didn't. Follies reference drink.
In 1981, Ju Jamson bought the theater, and before long, it was boasting attractions like Late Night Comic, 4 performances, A Month of Sundays, 4 performances, and Chu Chem, the first Chinese-Jewish musical. I missed that one. But in 1990, it was christened the Walter Kerr and given a beautiful renovation. And before long, the theater was playing home to The Piano Lesson, Pulitzer Prize, Angels in America, Pulitzer Prize, and Christine Ebersol's performance in Grey Gardens, Pulitzer Prize for Gay. The theater on 48th Street with the most gorgeous marquee on Broadway had gone from trash to class.
In his New York Times review of Soon, Clive Barnes had said, "The cast was uniformly good, everyone had zest and honestly projected pop voices. They also all had distinctive personalities. Something's gonna happen, soon," one character says to another hopefully in the middle of the first act of the show. And it would. Exciting things would happen for much of this Soon gang. Not in this musical, not yet, but soon. In fact, none of the reviews singled out Peter Allen or Richard Gere, and most of the reviews misspelled Richard's name wrong as Richard Gere. So, there's like a Martin Gere parody waiting to happen.
Richard Watts said, "Having always thought of rock music as an expression of youthful exaltation, I was taken aback by the deep melancholia of the young people in Soon. They were constantly singing of the dismal prospect of the future. Soon is actually a rather agreeable little concoction. The score is pleasant and lively. But there is something disarming about the way that the book presents the young people in such a broodingly philosophical mood. Apparently, years before Spring Awakening, Soon was the first angsticle. Adults were disturbed by this look into youth culture, that it wasn't all brightness, exuberance, and bye-bye birdie.